All right, let's go. Come on, Ralph, Marie, Lauren, let's go. All right. Who in here has written a book or is writing a book? See a show of hands. Rod, where's your hand? Nancy has. Nancy, come up here just a minute. There's no substitute for writing a book. There really isn't. So Nancy, I've got some of your brochures. I want you to take them back there with you. So, I understand there's a lady named Nancy Erickson that's written a book. Can you tell us about your book and when it'll be out?
Yes, I've written another book. It's been 7 years since I wrote a book, and mine's been finished for about 6 months, but we had so many books of you all coming out that we couldn't attend to it. So my book is called Stop Stalling and Start Writing, and the subtitle is Kick the Excuses and Jumpstart Your Nonfiction Book. And so it's ready and printed. It's not going to be released for 2 more weeks because I have an agreement with a book printing company called Book Baby. They're the second largest book printer after Amazon, and I'm going to be speaking at their conference in a couple of weeks in Philadelphia, and so it's going to be released at that conference, and every member's going to get a copy of it then. So yeah. Oh, and by the way, if you've been working with me, you're in the book, so we're promoting your book as well. Terry Lammers, you're going to need to read it. I'm kidding. Because at the last summit, he said something about, it was like I was tasing him, and I'm like, that's too good to leave out. So.
Okay, let's hear it for Nancy Erickson. There's no substitute for being a published author, self-published or whatever. And I'll tell you, some of you know this story, but when I met Neelay, where's Neelay? Back here. When I met him, I went to the New York airport to fly home, and I couldn't find a place at the airport. I had a cup of coffee, looking for a place to sit down. It's pretty crowded. And I saw a middle-aged lady sitting there in an empty chair. I said, "Ma'am, may I sit here?" She said, "Sure." She was a talkative lady, actually from Naples, Fort Myers, Florida, and she started asking me questions. "Well, what do you do? What are you doing here?" And finally got talking about books, Craig, and talking about Chicken Soup for the Soul. She goes, "You co-authored Chicken Soup for the Soul? Just a minute. I'm sitting here next to this old man. He wrote the Chicken Soup." She was frantic. So excited. So there's no substitute for it. So you got to do it. And Terry is the reason we got connected through Nancy. And Terry's book, You Don't Know What You Don't Know, is really well written, and he's lived the book. And so he was writing a book, and then he said, "I don't know what I'm doing." Googled, found Nancy, and then Nancy said, "You got to meet Terry Lammers," and here we go. And it's kind of like Doug Damon. I'm driving from one part of St. Louis to another, and I get a text from Doug, and he said, "Tom, I just connected with a lady on LinkedIn. She's the book professor. You need to meet her." And I was working with Wendy Everett at the time, and that was your pastor as well. I mean, just all these God winks and all the connections. So, in my Vistage travels, I spoke in Phoenix several times, and in the process, got to meet a really, really fascinating guy. Let's welcome Craig Hughes!
Got a desk there. Okay.
So anyhow, Craig became a Hills Angel 7 years ago, 8 years ago, 100 years ago.
The first one I went to was actually on the wall there, on Barrett. So October of 2008 is when that was my first summit.
And where were we?
And yeah, Jacksonville.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Ponte Verde. Verda. I'm not pronouncing
Well, anyhow, so that led one thing to another, meeting all the different people. And when I go, if you go back through St. Louis on I-55, you go through Blytheville there, I think they're putting up a big sign, former home of Craig.
It's the former home of a lot of people. I tell people it's a good place to be from. I would want to live there.
Yeah, touched so many lives, making a difference, written a great book. The only problem with it, the only negative really, is giving me too much credit. So, so it's good that Chris got lots of recognition in there. So a warm welcome to Craig Hughes, and let's tell his story.
So, yeah, I was kind of waiting for you to go to Amazon and put a link up there.
I'm working on it, Craig.
So, you know, Tom, just like he did earlier, he encourages everybody to write a book. And so he kept saying, oh, Craig, when are you going to write your book? When are you going to write your book? And I'm like, we've had some great stories, and a lot of people here have written books. We have people like Alvin, and he tells his story. I mean, you listen to this, what he overcame. Here he comes from the islands. He gets dropped with a single mom, and he's, you know, in the frozen tundra up there in Canada, and has all these things he has to go through, and he succeeded through all of it. And we had similar stories from, I don't know, blank on names, but coming from Vietnam and with $5 in their pocket, and Tammy. Yeah, Tammy. And Tammy Fadler. And so it's just a phenomenal story. And I'm like, you know, I was this white kid growing up in a middle-class family. I had a normal education, went to college. I really, there was nothing sensational about it. And my company we were fairly successful, but I'm like, what do I have to offer to anybody else? And so you actually, I think you have to step away, because everything's normal. You know, when you become CEO of a company, you're still the same person and so you don't understand that when you say stuff, other people really are listening, hanging on to every word you say, so you have to, you know, conduct yourself in a little different manner. So I try to step back and I go, you know, maybe we have accomplished some things, and maybe I can do what I like to do, which is help other people. And so if I can help other entrepreneurs in their endeavors, and I think I can do it at a couple of different levels. I was just talking to Evangeline. She's just getting going with her company, and about a year and a half into it, and so that's the type of person I want to reach with this. But I think I also have a message for more of you in the room that have a successful operation, and help you deal with what you might be facing here in the next few years, which is the world's changing at a rate that it never has before. And so hopefully it'll help you with that. So, well, they got it up there. So Nancy is absolutely great to work with. So she was the first one who, she says, look, she kind of lures you in with this $1,200 thing, and she says, look, sign up for this, and we'll get these lessons going, and you can do it 15 minutes at a time. Yeah, right. And so, but it is. She breaks it up into bite-sized pieces, and she actually has you think about why you're writing this book, what is your target audience, a lot of good stuff there. And she takes you all the way from conceptualizing, making this book map, to your first rough draft. And she loves to say, and I love to say it comes with a quote, so anyway, so your first draft is going to be shit. And so, but that's Ernest Hemingway, so, yeah, Hemingway, yeah, so, yeah, that's so anyway, and it was, and so was the second, and the third, and the fourth, and the fifth. The fifth finally started looking like a little bit like a book, but anyway, so I said, yeah, you know, I'm going to write this book. I do think I have a message to share, and so. But like I said, Nancy will take you all the way through the process. She has a publishing company. You know, she does cover art. So she said, send me a bunch of photos. So I sent her a bunch of photos, and I said, just use the one that, you know, shows my best side. And so that's what we came up with. And she's also a marketing genius, and I said, you know, Nancy, I'm bringing 50 books down to the summit. I'm like, you know, I think the list price on them is $17 or $18, and I said, but you know, usually they're worth more when they have a signature in them, and I'm going to be doing a presentation, so you know, the demand should be pretty high. And so I said, so what should we sell them for? She said, well, I think zero would be about. That's not right. So they're free, and I'll sign one for you. I'd be happy to, and hopefully you get something out of it. So I hate doing this because I can't read. So I wanted to break this down in why I wrote a book, who's my audience, and then how it might help the more successful in the room. So first let me tell you what the book is not about. It's not about how smart I am, what I accomplished, because we're constantly humbled in this world. And Tom, you bring somebody on, like yesterday, the gentleman from New York City, and you always do that to us. It's like when we think we're doing something, he brings in a guy who makes whatever you've accomplished look pretty small. And I remember years ago, 2008, that's when Al Lockhart he was a Hills Angel, and he was opening, and we were giving a little bit of money back to charity, and thought, yeah, you know, we're doing something. And so Al Lockhart comes on, and he says, yeah, you know, we're opening we're opening orphanages all over the world. And I'm like, oh, crap. And so, you know, we're not doing anything then. And so we started a foundation the following year, in 2009. My wife and I, she's the president of the foundation. It's called the Total Transit Foundation. And we just, you know, we're still not big, so we've given a couple $1 million back to the communities that we serve since then. But so I meet a guy, and well, he's a billionaire, but he sold his company, and he has to give away $1 million a week. And so it's like, well, okay, I guess I'm not doing anything again. So you get those humbling experiences there. But so the book is not about that, but what it is about is overcoming our natural limitations that we all have. So we all have stuff that we're good at, and we have stuff that we're not good at. And so I talk in here about overcoming my limitations in it. And when I got into a business for the first time, I realized very quickly that I didn't know anything. So I went to college, and you know, the University of Arkansas, fine school, and matter of fact, they named me Entrepreneur of the Year a few years ago, which tells you that they got a real lack of talent coming out of school. But they taught you how to be compliant within a corporate environment, and so I went to work for a corporation in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and had to look on a map to find out where that was. And so I did that, and so I didn't like it. Went to Arizona, ended up starting this, or buying a little company. I worked for a guy until I was 30, and on my 30th birthday I quit because he cut my legs out from underneath me. And so that was one of the things, when you see the people who do not deal with you truthfully and honestly, it makes you really respect the whole values proposition. And so I'll talk about that a little bit later. So I thought I was pretty smart, because I figured out real quick that I was a horrible manager. I had drivers running all over me. I bought this little cab company. It was 15 cars, and just was losing my butt on it. And these guys were beating me up real big. And so I said, okay, I need to get a no man. I need somebody who says no to these folks and allows me to do what I need to do. And so I did that. And so we went along, and we slowly grew. But, you know, all I did was pull like maybe one layer off of it. And I always liken, when you start a business, you have to learn how to wear all these hats. And it's almost like being thrown in the ocean, and then you're expected to build and pilot a boat. You know, it doesn't, you don't know what you're doing. And so I got into that environment, didn't know what I was doing. Took off the hats of the things I didn't like to do, which was easy to do, but I kept the hats for probably far too long, and I really had a tight control on our finances and on our company. And you all heard that expression that when your hands close, you can't receive, and it's true. And so I slowly, over 20 years, 15, 20 years, somehow built the company up to about $10 million in annual sales. And so we weren't doing that much, and we were kind of stagnant there. And then that's when I got into Vistage, and they talked about the importance of doing strategic planning, and everybody else has said, no, strategic planning is a waste of time. And you do a book, you go off, you do a book, it sits on the shelf. And it wasn't that at all. It was totally eye-opening. We decided that I never even heard of a values-based business. We called it core principles. We developed our core principles. We talked about what do we really believe in, what do we stand for, and it was one of the best things we ever did, because we have a lot of touch points. So I can't tell you how many people work for me, because I'm that far out of the business now, but I think of maybe 5,000. So a lot of people, a lot of touch points. And so our core principles drive that. We don't have a lot of rules. It's like, if whatever you're doing complies with these core principles, well, then you're doing the right thing. So don't worry about it. You're not going to get in trouble if all you've done is make sure that we took care of the customer, whether we were honest with our delivery, all that. And so it makes it very easy to scale. So we can scale to 100,000 people, and as long as we have these core principles in place, we're fine. So one of our core principles is you can't be afraid of change, and I heard that one, embrace change. So one of our core principles was embrace change and the opportunities it presents. And this world is changing, like I was saying earlier. We live in this society and with the technology that is just expanding exponentially. But we're still linear people. You know, we still go from one day to the next. We're not 5 times smarter the next day, just like our devices are. And so it's hard for us all to keep up. But we have to evolve. You cannot, and I'll give you an example, and that's my organization. So we were a cab company, and I can't tell you of a less sexy business than owning a cab company. I mean, I'd go up to somebody at a cocktail party, and they're like, "Oh, what do you do?" I go, "I own a cab company." They go, "There's got to be somebody more intelligent to talk to in this place." So you know, it was kind of humbling, you know. So yeah, I'm in this business. It's a tough business, but it's like, you know what? One of our first goals is we're going to create one of the best cab companies in the United States. We're going to create one of the top 5 cab companies in the United States. And so, so that was an early goal, and we started towards that. And then I went to, you know, I don't know how many of you have had Tom Hill's lessons. And do you do those anymore, or are they all with the REIT now?
They're there.
They're there? And so I went through it. It was about a year's worth of lessons, and changed me, changed my company. So one of the first lessons that he had is envision your perfect life in 6 years. And I thought I was in pretty good shape already. So it's like, yeah, okay, I want more of the same. But then I took it to another level. So I said, look, this is my perfect life in 6 years. And then I said, you know, I got to do this for our company. What would our perfect company look like 6 years from now? And so I did some quick math, and I like this whole 10X strategy. And I'm like, we can grow our revenues to 10 times the size in 6 years if we grow it just about 50% a year. 50% is pretty doable unless you want to stay a cab company in Phoenix, Arizona. And so we had to broaden our market. And so that became part of the conversation. Okay, what else are we going to do? What are we going to get into? We started that process. We actually succeeded. This is one of Tom's favorite things that he likes to say about dreaming and setting these expectations. So we decided that we were going to do a certain level of calls, more calls than anybody in the United States was doing. We exceeded it by 30%. We were going to be doing so many millions in sales, we exceeded it. We were going to create 5 millionaires, we did that. All these different things that we wanted to accomplish, we accomplished almost every one of them, exceeded almost every one of them. And it's true what you say, you can't dream big enough. But I want to tell you the second part of what happens with this 10X philosophy. So I was a $10 million company, all right? So what do I end up with? I'm a $100-some million company. 6 years later, that was from 2008 to 2014. So even in 2008, I said, so by 2020, we should be a $1 billion company. That's what happened. A $10 million company becomes a $100 million company, becomes a $1 billion company. We're not a $1 billion company yet. We're about $250 million right now. But, and I'll talk a little bit about the rocket fuel we got going on with that thing that's going to get us to where we want to be. We'll be a $1 billion company by 2020. So if I hadn't have met Tom Hill, if we hadn't, and I got to tell you, I'm a slow guy. He comes to and does our business. It's 4 years later, I think, before he comes back. And I'm getting the Eagle Zine, I'm reading about this summit, and I'm like, God, I'd love to do that sometime. So I talked to Tom afterwards, I go, man, I'd love to go to one of those summits sometime. He said, well, let's go to the next one. It's going to be, I think it was the one before that. It was St. Andrews by the Sea in New Brunswick, and I couldn't make that one. But I said, that's all it took. I got to just ask you, but it was so important to what we did to our company and how we evolved. So I don't think I gave you too much. As a matter of fact, I'm surprised you're not asking for a check. But you know, to me, I thought of this analogy last night at 3:30 in the morning when my wife was trying to get back in the room. You'd have to be here earlier. Anyway, so I was thinking about this analogy. I said, you know, running a small business, it's kind of like operating a boat. You know, when you first get into it, you don't know anything. You don't know the rules. You don't know the billing. Especially I'd ridden in a cab twice, and never in Phoenix, Arizona, before I bought a cab company. So I knew zero about the business. I had a degree in transportation. Yeah, that was University of Arkansas. It didn't help me any. So anyway, I thought about it, and I said it's almost like you're dropped in with a rowboat. And so you have to learn how to make it go forward. You're trying to move forward. There's obstacles in the way. You've got to figure out how to steer around those obstacles. And then you start looking at how can I improve this? And so he said, well, I know what I'll do. I'll just get a motor and put a motor on there. So you get a motor and you get somebody who takes care of the motor. And so you're not worried about that anymore. But you're still worried that the boat's clean, that you're going on the path that you want to go, and that somebody's driving the boat, and yet you're really not doing anything. You're just kind of slogging along. And we slogged along for a long time. We weren't getting the boat on plane. And when you get a boat on plane, you know what that means? That's when the tail's in the water and the front's up, and you're gliding along. Well, following these procedures and going over this 6-year plan, we went on plane. And we went on plane in a big way and really got a lot of momentum and a lot of success. And we were blowing along in a big power boat. And away from the rocks, out in the open sea, we found our clear blue sea, and a tsunami came in called Uber. And so we did. We built the #1 taxi dispatch operation in the country. Second in North America, the one in Toronto, Bex. We were doing 16,000 calls a day, and this is in 2014, and it's like all that work to get to there, which was only part of our plan, all that work to get to there, though, it was like, hey, you know what? That's like being the guy who says, I got the biggest buggy whip factory in the world, and the Model T came out last year, and so everybody says, yes, oh, who cares? And So here we developed something, put all this time and effort into it, but, and this kind of reminds me of the Kimberly-Clark, I think that's who it was, when they sold the paper mills. And so we kind of did the same thing. We hauled out a part of our business. We looked at what was coming with Uber and Lyft, and we said, you know, we gotta be able to be in those waters. Our model is not going to survive. And so we bought a technology company, and it was just two guys working part-time, and they had some Russian programmers, and they had some programmers in San Diego that helped them out, and they had full-time jobs otherwise, but we bought their company. They had a little app that we used, and it wasn't very sophisticated, but these guys knew how to run a technology company, or especially the guy who ended up becoming the president of it. And so that technology company, we took it, we named it 2.B, which was going to be our retail app. We tried to sell it to the taxi industry, and they're like, no, you know, we're going to regulate these guys out of business, and all this other stuff that didn't happen. They couldn't see the vision that we had. We were trying to partner with them and use their customer base. Customer acquisition is a huge thing, and they weren't interested. So we go, okay, we got this technology. By then, we had developed it. We had spent several $1 million on it. And we said, you know what? One of our branches, so we do private transportation, which is taxis and that kind of thing. We also do public transportation, which is buses. We operate buses for the city. We operate dial ride programs, and so we had that going. But then we had this transportation management, and so what that was all about, there's Medicaid has transportation as a benefit, and so it's a huge market. It's about a $3 billion a year market, and the people that, just like the taxi companies, were pretty terrible and really deserved what they got from Uber and Lyft, because it was, let's bring everything down to the bottom and do as little as possible and try to make as much money as possible. With this, we saw transportation management, that little division of ours, as something that we could explore with that, and we could be first to market with something that, you know, we thought was something pretty powerful. So it was in January 2016 that we converted 2.B to a new company called Veyo, V-E-Y-O. And Veyo is located in San Diego, and we started small. We've moved 3 or 4 times now. We have an entire floor of the Symphony building in downtown, in a high-rise in downtown San Diego. I know nothing about this business. It's very complicated. We have data scientists. I walk up to this girl and say, so what do you do? She says, well, I'm a data scientist. I'm like, okay, what does that mean? And she goes, well, I have my PhD in data science. I have my MBA, and I have 2 masters. And I'm like, okay, you work for me. And then, you know, and they'll come to me and say, well, we got to hire a new head of engineering. I'm like, you have an engineering department? So I'm pretty hands-off on this stuff. But I knew what needed to happen. We needed to get this technology. We needed to build it out. And so I seeded that company with like $62 million a year of work that we were doing in our transportation management. And we put it into this, so now you can order, the customers can order this off an app. We have portals. We have real-time look at the drivers. When the drivers clear a trip, they have a driver app. So it works just like Uber and Lyft, but it's within a network. And so there's 2 different kind of models. There's the, we work with a lot of health companies, and like if we work with Cigna, we might work with them in one state, and then if they have, then they're in 18 states. So they may say, you know what, we can use your help in another state. We also have state contracts, like we do all the Medicaid work for the state of Colorado, the state of Idaho, which is what I hear is a great place to live. I haven't been to Boise yet. I have an office there, but I haven't been there yet. So give you a kind of idea of how hands-off I am. We just got the state of Connecticut, $52 million a year contract, and so that company. When that contract starts, it'll be at $250 million in 2 years. from where we started. So it really works. So everybody goes, you poor son of a bitch, you know, you're in the taxi business and Uber and Lyft got to be eating your lunch. And it's like, yeah, I just came back from a convention in Denver 2 weeks ago, and these guys have got, you know, they're shell-shocked. It was easy for them to make a couple $1 million a year and not really have to do anything, not really have to know how to compete. And now they're looking at their companies going bankrupt and trying to figure out what they're going to do next. And we actually had a little bit of foresight, and it's not because of me, it's because of my team. And that's where I said, when I thought I was so smart at first because, yeah, I knew I needed some managers, but I didn't let go. I would not let go because I'd seen too many companies fail, and I didn't want any partners. And then I met a guy who is our company CEO, Mike Pinker, and he came to work for me. He did a little bit, and then he did a little bit more. And when I met the guy, it was kind of like meeting Tom. He talked about stuff that I didn't understand, and I'm like, you know stuff that I don't know, and I need you. And so we started working together, and I did make him a partner. I just gave him part of the company and a little part, but hopefully it'll be worth something to make it worth his while down the line. But and then developed Mike. He turns out he was the most trustworthy person that you could ever want to meet, and I never had even thought about this before because all I heard about was, you know, true partners, and he's not a true partner. He's a back of the napkin kind of partner, but I guess he is an equity partner in Vail, and so, but it's all on trust, and you have to pick a business partner pretty similar to the way you pick your wife. I mean, marriage is anything. It's about love, but it's not just about love. It's about trust. And so you trust that your partner is going to do the right thing, and they trust that you're going to do the right thing. And that's exactly the kind of relationship I have with Mike. And so, and he's a really smart guy. So we sent him to Harvard for 3 years, and he went through their OPM program and just blew the doors off, brought back way more value. It cost me $30,000 every time I sent him there for 3 weeks, and he come back with a, you know, immediate return. It was incredible, and I had nothing but good things to say about that program. And I'm sure I'm off the rails by now, right? Yeah. So, I know I left my, okay, well, our speaker earlier, we were talking about values-based, and probably most of you guys, she's probably speaking to the choir, most of you guys probably already have a values-based organization, but what it does, it creates, before we were a values-based company, this is what would happen. I would come in on a Monday morning, and they go, this lady had a real problem this weekend, and she wants to hear from the owner. And the reason she wants to hear from the owner is that the person that was helping her couldn't help her, the supervisor couldn't help her, because they weren't sure what to do. Once we put the values proposition into work, it's like, look, you've got some discretionary funds you can use. If we screwed up and we need to give this lady back $100 or whatever we did, just take care of it. I don't get any calls anymore. Nobody, they don't even know I'm the owner. But what happens, it allows you to scale. And so everybody knows what they're supposed to be doing, and they just do it. And going above and beyond, our people are so good. I said, you know, we're not doing enough for them. So a few years ago, we started a program. When they hit their 5-year, 10-year, 15, 20-year, we send them on vacations, and we give them spending money and give them free time off of work, and then we have lunches for them, and we celebrate them. And I got to tell you, it's a little sickening because I'll stand there with my arms around somebody who's been with me for 15 years, and I got the most respect out of the people that have been with us for a long time, because they might have gone to work for a little cab company, and yet they were good enough that they were able to scale themselves up to what we're doing now. And so I shower them with praise, and just we had some different devices. One of them was called the Total Transit Way, where it's all about praise. And so when somebody does something right, they get recognized by their peers, they get recognized by their managers. And so we made that part of our culture. And I think it's so true that when you show them some faith, and when with doing the values thing, we're saying, look, we're giving you guys a little bit of a blank check here. You do what you think is right, and we're okay with that, as long as you don't, go crazy. And so what we did, we empowered them. So we empowered our employees. It's like somebody was saying yesterday, you had my hands all this time, you gotta have my head. Well, we got their heads, and they love to participate. They love to give back. They love to think that I'm going to work tomorrow because I can make things better for somebody. And you wouldn't think that you would get that out of a transportation company, but it's really true. So who in here has heard of Jim Rohn? Just about everybody. That's where Tom got his I didn't want a Tom thing to ask the question first. So they all know who Jim Rohn is, and he's one of our favorites. And so this is one of his quotes. He says, "Become a millionaire, not for the $1 million, but for what it will make of you to achieve it." So after I did Tom's program, I said, okay, I've got these great people. As a matter of fact, I'm in a one of our, we do a lot of strategic planning. I'm in one of our strategic planning meetings. I'm looking around at our people. I'm like, holy crap. I said, and I told them this right there. I said, I'm looking at who we have in this room. I said, I don't think I could get a job with this company if I didn't own it. So I mean, we really got an impressive group of people. So what I did after Tom's, after I took his, I'm like, because I left that off, but I did it for the company, and I talked about the balance and everything. And I had one guy who was an older guy that worked for us who had already had a successful career, retired, and got bored and came to work for us. And I'm talking about balance. He says, well, I could use more balance. And I'm like, that struck a chord with you. And then one of my guys says, I talked about the presidents of the 5 different divisions. He says, I want to be one of those presidents. The guy today is one of those presidents. So, I mean, they saw the vision. And that's really our job as a business owner, and I'll get to the rest of it. The rest of it is, I peeled a few layers off at first. I peeled them all off. I peeled all the layers off, and that's what allowed me to really grow because, and it's right there in the front of the book, I think, the little story between Mike and myself. We had a meeting that says, this is who we're going to be. We're going to be this revolutionary company that we're going to be one of the largest providers of transportation in the country, and we're going to be everywhere. And Mike comes to me afterwards. He says, "Are you sure you want to do that?" He says, "You got a pretty good business. You got a pretty good lifestyle." And he says, "You're making a lot of money." He says, "Are you sure that's the direction you want to go?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "I'm not going to do it." I said, "You're going to do it." I'm the business owner. I'm not a manager. And so and that's the paradox. So like I was saying earlier, you got to wear all these hats. You got to be the billing person. You got to be the salesperson. You got to know how to do all this stuff. And with me, it was mechanics. I didn't know anything. I couldn't even change my oil, but I had to learn about mechanics because I had to know if I was, it was a big drain. So I had to at least be as smart as the guy that was doing this for me and know what was right and what was wrong. But then what you have to do, after you learn all this, you have to let it go. So you let that go, and you let somebody who's smarter than you do it. Somebody who, it's like for me, managing people and telling them to go to hell. I was terrible at that. Somebody would say, "Hey, Craig, you wait till tomorrow till I pay you?" "Sure." I was always, yes. That's a lot of, I'm an optimist, and most business owners are, and you're just like, well, but they were killing me. And so I needed somebody that had that ability. Well, I let go of everything. And so that gave my organization, which is really what we're talking about here. I'm just a stockholder. And so now it's all about my organization. What's the best thing for my organization? We'd made a decision early on that we weren't going to have a family-run company. A lot of you in here have family-run companies. I wanted the best people, regardless of where they came from or anything else. I wanted them in our organization, running our organization. And so we took those steps. I had the freedom because I wasn't going to be bound by this. I was going to support whatever they wanted to do, but I wasn't going to I wasn't going to do it. So that's why I've been to our San Diego office, I think, once, the new one. So, you know, it's not very far away. But I try to stay out of it. And there's a reason why we located it in San Diego and didn't try to put it under our cloud. True change comes from outside the industry. So Uber wasn't a cab company that had a better idea. It was a technology company that had a better idea. So when we created this technology company, we put it into this blue ocean that we're in there with the transportation management, we have got them all on the run now. They cannot compete with our model. So we did the same thing to them that was done to us. So right now, nobody can compete with us. We're winning everything we go after, and it's a good place to be. But it's not, I'm not naive enough to think that we're done, you know, because we're looking over our shoulder all the time. We send people to these autonomous vehicles summits, and we want to know what could upset the apple cart, what could change it so we're no longer there. We're looking for the next tsunami to come in, and we're trying to brace ourselves for it and make ourselves earthquake proof. So that's a little bit of what we've done. Do any questions or? Okay.
Am I on next?
Yeah.
All right.
Well, no, you're muted. There you go.
How about now?
Great.
One of the smartest things this guy did in doing all this, he married up. Chris, stand up. If you read the book, you'll know how much tribute you paid to her.
Oh, well, and my wife, people, when they meet me, they're like, you know, like they see her, they say, you know, you dress like $1 million. They said, well, she's a good shopper, it's like $500,000. But they see me and they say, hey man, you look like $100.
If you look down in there, crystal ball as far as electric cars, is that the future?
Absolutely, I believe it is. We're on I got a lot of electric vehicles, so.
You have a Tesla, right?
I have a Tesla. So somewhere in our journey, we were the largest Prius fleet in North America with 900 Priuses in our fleet. Am I going this way?
Away from the
Just waving
speaker.
at me?
Away, yeah, I'm just waving. Hi, Craig. Just a little ways away from the speaker to be right in front. There you go.
Okay.
That'll help.
I thought we were going to do this all day. So we created the largest Prius fleet in the country, and that, you know, they're partially electric. And then I really got kind of an electric bug. I have electric bicycles, which my wife loves. She broke her wrist on one time. I have electric motorcycles. I have electric cars. We're on our second Tesla, and yeah, it's the future. Yeah, once you go there, you just won't go back. So.
What about self-driving cars and self-driving 18-wheelers?
Mm-hmm.
Inevitable?
It's not only inevitable, it's already happening. So, you know, I thought with 18-wheelers, I go, boy, what a great, you know, it's really easy to put an 18-wheeler on the freeway and have it go down the freeway, and then, you know, it has to pull over and get fuel and those kind of things. But otherwise, it's so simple to not have to have a driver in there. And there's a company in Florida that actually, they treat it like a self-driving truck. They treat it like a drone. So they have real truck drivers sitting behind desk. And so this truck, when it's going down the freeway for hours and hours, 24 hours a day, it doesn't need your help going down the freeway, but it does need to get gas. They do need to drop a load. Well, these guys, they got cameras all over these things. So the guys, they take it over and they drive it remotely. They can see everything that's going on. They can see the weather conditions, and they take it over, take it to where it needs to be, and then it does whatever it has to do, and then they put it back on the freeway and let it go, and then they're off to the next. They might drive 20 different rigs, you know, in a shift, just doing that little part. But it's amazing how close we are to it. I asked you, I said, so how many autonomous vehicles have you seen? And Tom goes, well, I don't think I've ever seen one. I saw 7 in one block, a block from my house. So they're all over Arizona. So there's Uber is there, Google's, that Waymo they're way ahead of everybody else. So Waymo is the Alphabet company, the Google company. So they take what they learn on the streets. They drive far more than anybody else. I mean, like 1,000 times more miles than anybody else. But then what they do, they go back in this lab outside of San Francisco, which is on the airstrip, and they had a car that had a hard time with a multiple lane roundabout in Texas. So they took that, and they do everything they can to kind of try to crash that car. And, all kinds of scenarios. And they do it, and it's all through computer simulation. And so they make the car smarter and smarter and smarter. And there's that, that quantum learning going on. And it's going to be here sooner than later. It's already here.
Amazing. Also, explain how your foundation works.
Well, our foundation, and actually in the last couple of years, we've gotten an award for being one of the most giving large companies in Arizona, which is pretty pitiful. I mean, there's billion-dollar public companies that give less than we do. I don't get it. And so there is a little bit of a disconnect there, I think, between giving, back to your community. Of course, this is just in Arizona. So it's just what we give to Arizona charities. We do scholarships. I think we did 13 scholarships last year, probably 13 or 14 the year before. We do $3,000 to $5,000 a year scholarships to employees and drivers, their kids or grandchildren, and we know we're changing some lives there. We got some really smart kids.
Huge.
Yeah.
So if you look back on the business, like Ed Newmeyer now has close to 45 great clips, Tucson and Phoenix, and he's finally found somebody to transition. Sally, I don't know if you met Sally yet or not.
No, but I heard that.
He said, I'm feeling a little bit guilty. I don't have enough to do now. He's turned it over to her, giving her some ownership. That really is important at some point in a business life. Like you did with Mike.
Like I did with Mike, and so I didn't finish that part that I was talking about. I rewrote Tom's lessons for our group. For your financial part, I actually went to Nashville, did the Dave Ramsey thing. It's hundreds of people that we changed with that. They would come up to me, and mechanics that were in debt, they had their mechanic school bill, they had their tool bill, paid everything off. We changed so many lives through that, and it was a lot of work. I had to do, I'm giving them homework, I'm doing it, I'm doing the lessons, and I said, look, this is kind of like you guys are fourth graders and you're getting taught by a fifth grader, because I just went through this myself. But I said, it's better, it's all I got. And so I got to get on a more personal basis with my team. This was like 25 managers, and than I ever could have otherwise. And they appreciate that stuff. They really do appreciate it because you are a big deal. You're the CEO, and you may not feel like you're a big deal, but it's a big deal when you interact with these folks and on a personal basis like that. So.
Now, we have 3 people walked in that nobody knows. Do you mind introducing them? Do you know them?
I kind of know them. So it's my sister Tony. She lives here in Memphis.
Tony, stand up.
The next girl is Randy. Randy is Paula's flame. Boyfriend. And Paula is my sister. She lives in Tulsa. She is so bored with her life that they've been doing this Delta town tour. I'm like, I cannot believe you guys did it. But like they spent the night in Pickett, Arkansas, and so that's what. But they were making their way over to Memphis for this, so I appreciate that.
They heard some famous speaker. Was that it?
Yeah, they heard that. They thought somebody good was going to be here, and then they waited too late.
Oh, we're glad you're here. Let's hear it for Craig Hughes. Okay, at your table, assign a chair, a leader. Get your table, get a leader. Who's the leader? I got an assignment for you. Get busy. Come on. All right, here's your assignment, and there's going to be a follow-up to this assignment. I have 4 mantras that I live by. 4 mantras. Write them down.
What did you ask again today, please?
Well, they won't know. Just tell them to be nice to each other. Good job, Craig. Four mantras, my 4 mantras. You're writing down my 4 mantras. Yes. Alvin should know them by heart. All right, are you ready? All right, table 1, Doug Damon, name one of my mantras.
You become the average of 5 people you spend most time.
No. Table 2, name one of them. All right, that's correct. So those of you that don't have them all down correct, one idea, well executed, can change your life forever. One spiritual idea, one health idea. So what should you do then, Nancy? Be a reader? So be a reader. Yeah, writer. Be a reader. Read a book a week. Here's 2. If you haven't read these 2 books, you got to read them. Halftime by Bob Buford. Halftime by, and by the way, those of you that were in Naples know Bob's not doing well at all. His health is really bad. But you're already successful. It's time to make a difference. How can you make a difference? So that's one mantra. How about this table here? What's another mantra? That's it. Let her give it to her. Just say it loud.
Be the best person you can be.
That's number 1. You have a moral obligation every morning when you get up. How can I be the best person I can be today? Spiritually, health, relationship, down the line. All right. Roger's table. What's another mantra? Dave.
How about this? One person who is attracted to you because of who you have become can change your life forever.
Correct. So you should have what? A networking system. Mine has changed my life forever. There's a lot of different systems. Keith Ferrazzi, different ones have it. But you need a networking system. So number 1 is become the best person you can become, and because of that, you'll attract these others into your life. And it's involved some of these God winds. For example, what are the odds of Michael Hobbs Higginson and me connecting? I've never met him, never talked to him. His mother went to college in Kirksville, Missouri, to the medical school. Right, Rich? A.T. Still University. So have a networking system. Okay. Number 2 is we have a moral obligation to make a positive difference in every life. Be a reader and be a learner. So now, what I want you to do is to welcome Dean Wegner from Nashville, Tennessee. One person can make a difference. A guy by the name of Dick Wallace. You ever hear of Dick Wallace?
Good friend.
Dick Wallace is a TAB leader in Nashville. I haven't seen him in years. I gave several presentations to his group over the years. And I don't know, maybe a year ago, Dean, he said, you need to invite Dean Wegner to a summit. So I invited Dean to Naples. I'd never met you before in my life. Has an amazing story. And so Saturday night at the Naples Summit, we had a blast, didn't we?
We did.
That was so much fun. And so tell us a little bit what we did that night. Tell her, a lot of people weren't there.
I still laugh about this because Dick said, call Tom. And we were facing a big life decision. And Tom said, I've got a great idea. We're going to have a small little intimate gathering in Naples. And we'll have you share. And I envisioned 10, 12 people. And then I bared my soul to 70 people. So not what I expected, but that was Tom's idea of an intimate gathering. So that's what we did last night. Share 3 different decisions we had. And
What happened?
just to refresh, because I know a lot of you were there, some of you were not, but we had a decision. One, there was a buyout with my company previously, so we had a decision to make. One, there was a brand, Authentically American, that I thought was a phenomenal idea, but we didn't have the funding. So how do we do that? Or we had 2 great executive offers. So it was like Monty Hall. Door number 1, door number 2, or door number 3. So that night was incredibly helpful because it made me think and pray about it, talk to my wife, and ultimately what we decided is it's about passion. And I was incredibly passionate about the idea about Authentically American, pursuing building an iconic American brand, build what some would say a fearless brand. We wanted to build an iconic brand, so we went all in. So that was the biggest decision, Tom. Another big output of that. Anyone know Brett Klein? So we needed investors. And now not only do I have an investor, but I've got a friend and got a partner. So Brett is on board.
Stand up, Brett. And he started the company since he was there.
He did.
That's another story, but go ahead.
So that was a huge outcome of that. We also have 4 other investors. So we're right now 6 months into the startup journey.
And what's the product?
So Authentically American is the brand, and timing's everything. So everything we do is American made, and we've never wavered from that idea of building an iconic American brand. And the way we've decided to do that, we're going to partner with businesses, schools, and nonprofits. So right now we're producing polos, we're producing jackets, we're producing Oxfords, hats, t-shirts, hoodies, all those things that people buy already. And we're giving them a choice. So business, for example, I know there's a few people wearing their company's logo. It's amazing. When I looked at it, Tom, due diligence, companies in aggregate in America, whether you're a small business, whether you're a Fortune 100, $7 billion a year they spend. And they choose Nike, they choose Under Armour, they choose Cutter & Buck. All these brands, not a single one of them is American made. And back to timing is everything. There we go. Brett, that looks pretty good, doesn't it? So Brett, talking about being a partner, he was instrumental with his group helping to build that new website for us. So we now give companies a choice, American made, and timing being everything. I mean, thinking about all the dialogue in this country now about, patriotism, American made, the silly discussion about do you stand for the national anthem or do you kneel? I mean, put all the social peeps aside. What our customers say, you know what? This is our logo here, maybe hard to see, but that vintage U.S. flag, they say, you know what, Dean? Our values align with you. You've got a high-quality product that's competitively priced, and you're creating jobs in America. I want my company's logo with yours. I mean, it's the same thing now with schools. I think Mick was going through schools, so anyone have a university or a college sweatshirt, hoodie, whatever it is that they bought? I mean, almost everybody has. So we're now going down that path as well. We've been asked those schools. So my alma mater was West Point.
I was going to say, does anybody in your company got a military background?
So the quick story on that, so West Point, Naval Academy, Air Force Academy, we're official licensee there. So we're working with the coaches, we're working with the programs, bookstores, everything there. We're right in the heart of SEC country, so big football town. We're now added University of Tennessee. So we'll keep adding schools. And then nonprofits is another area, so we'll keep adding nonprofit. It's the same model, whether it's a business, school, organization, everyone is spending money on polos, Oxfords, jackets, quarter zips, and now we give them an American choice. High quality, competitively priced, that aligns better with their values.
Now, don't you have another West Point person in your business?
We do. Probably the best hire we made was a gentleman named Barry Jacobson, fellow West Point alum, fellow Procter & Gamble, where I spent 6 years, but when I'm honest with who I am, I'm a top-line person. I love driving sales, marketing, strategy, everything there. And Tom, probably not as focused as I should be on the execution. And I met Barry in Nashville. We didn't know each other at West Point. We didn't know each other at Procter & Gamble. He's been 7 years happily retired, and he was helping me with a business plan. And one day he said, Dean, I'm dreaming about Authentically American. We knew at that time he needed to come on full board with us. So he's our COO now. And while I'm focused on top line, he's focused on bottom line execution. So we're huge now. We've got 5 employees. So we're all 5 employees.
Jim has a question. Jim?
Yes, Jim.
Dean, let me connect you with one of the companies we featured in the new CEO Tools book, Nancy.
We got another microphone.
And they put
Wait a minute, Jim.
Here you go.
You can hear me.
I can't hear you.
I can.
But you're younger.
They do team uniforms.
Okay.
And they've developed a process that allows uniforms to be printed in 24 hours using a process that has the ink go through the gas to the shirt without ever turning into liquid.
Oh, wow.
And I know that they would be interested in having an American product as part of their line. So let me make that introduction.
Please, Jim, yes. Thank you.
Who has a comment or question? Mantra number 2 is make a positive difference in other people's lives. So when Dick said, Tom, you need to bring Dean over, why would I bring Dean over? He's not a Hills Angel, don't know him, total stranger, we're meeting in Naples. But one call, one thing, and then it took off to where we are now. So let's hear it for Dean. God bless you, Dean. Wait a minute, got a question now.
Dean, I just sent Brett a text on Thursday on our way down here. I met with a printing company that is going to be approaching $30 million a year in sales, and they sell to all of the YMCA's, the whole 9 yards. He's a great guy, former basketball player, collegiate basketball player. He'd be a great person for you guys to know.
Love it.
Okay, Dean.
Absolutely. I guess one other quick thing, Tom. I have had a lot of questions about what's up with your shoulder, Dean. So we made a big decision. My wife was not really happy with that decision. Just joking. I was a hockey player, so played hockey at West Point. So 3 months ago at a hockey game, had a big collision on Sunday night, and landed awkwardly. The guy was much bigger than I was, about 6'4", 240, and couldn't lift my arm for 2 weeks, but was in denial. I'm like, I can't be injured. So 3 weeks ago, just had surgery, massive rotator cuff tear. So 3 more weeks in the sling, Tom, and then unfortunately 6 to 12 months in recovery. So not the best timing in the middle of startup, but God's faithful and God will provide.
Let's hear it for Dean. Brett Klein, come on. So, another book I want you to read is called A Raindrop in the Ocean, right, Bill?
Yes.
A raindrop in there. It's a page turner. This guy's had the most adventurous business life you will ever read. Is that a good way to describe it? It's not mountain climbing and swimming oceans. It's business
Most
connection.
adventurous life ending in business, yes.
Yeah, losing money, making money, meeting people. And now, if things work out, Bill and Tara may be in London someday or somewhere, wherever Michael is. But it's another one of those books to me was a page turner. A raindrop in the ocean. So then, John Rudis. Who knows John Rudis? John's getting about $25,000 a speech. He's a Cutco knife guy, but he figured it out and really is soaring. And we became friends, he became a client, and so he called me, what, a year ago, 18 months ago, year and a half ago, a G curve, holy moly. And he said, Tom, let's get together at the Ritz-Carlton in Clayton, Missouri. So I said, fine, I'll come and meet you. So when I get there, there's total strangers there talking to him, and he just finished his. And so we shook hands, changed business cards, and he left, and here we are, 18 months later, total God wink. So as a result of all this, you became an investor in Authentic American, and you're on the board, an advisor role. So yeah, came out with God wink, that Dean happened to be there, and it was a fit for you. And then you now got explain who Medici is, so that people don't know.
For those who don't know, Medici Media Space, I'll probably describe that one first. It's a co-working facility in St. Louis. And it's a Medici, as you know, the famous Italian family, a collection of many different talents and disciplines brought together that when you bring a diverse set of people together, the collision of that brings out some very innovative and creative outcomes.
So, you've created a company out of that, so explain that. This is all in 18 months.
Yeah, so Medici just surpassed 100 members, and actually 106 now. And the two founders of Medici, Brian Lunt, who is a Hills Angel, and Josh Levy, we had a conversation about looking back into the community and realizing that there was critical mass within the marketing and media community. So it represented about 30% of the overall member base. And it just came to us, God wink, I guess. And we wanted to figure out a way that we could potentially monetize that 30%. And very quickly we decided to create a legal entity, call it Medici Marketplace, which is becoming a cooperative marketing and media services company. Made up of an ecosystem of business-to-business relationships with entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, freelancers, small media companies, and small marketing companies. And we are, I hope, a couple weeks away from having the website finished. We're onboarding a couple of new clients at the marketplace level. But I'm really excited about the disruption that I think this is going to create, particularly in St. Louis. We're calling ourselves the anti-agency or the unagency. And we know that lots of small business owners, entrepreneurs, those that are starting new companies, they fear going the agency route because of the fees associated with it. You become a small fish in a big pond. It's a one-size-fits-all solution in many cases. And we're doing things the exact opposite. We're bringing scope-to-fit solutions in a very efficient and economically viable way to companies that don't have a whole bunch of money to invest in marketing.
So that's launching the website in a couple of weeks.
Well, it's officially launched,
Yeah.
but I think the credibility backstop of a website is important, and that's a couple weeks away.
And before we really put anything in the Eagles in, you'll get that all put together.
Absolutely.
Now, is there a new website called Dr. something?
Dr. Tom Hill.
Explain a little bit about that and about Brian's mom.
Brian, actually his picture was just up there. Brian Lunt, as I mentioned, is one of the co-founders of Medici Media Space. His mother is a website developer. She's also a professional photographer. She is currently in the marketplace ecosystem. And I just completed my 5th website project with, her name is Karen Libby. And she is a phenomenal website developer. Her price point is very, very attractive. The one thing about the marketplace is, depending on what your budget is, we can align the right resource to that budget. Karen is one that is at a $2,000 range. Dean went through Worry-Free Marketing. It's a website developer that is in a little bit higher price range for a different level of functionality and optimization that comes with the website.
So Medici is, there's a God wink there, I tell him that Bill. I went to the Medici meeting, just happened to be sitting side by side at a point, and doors open, and part of that whole network thing.
Yep.
So my website, our website, when will it be official? Can we announce it?
It's official. It's active. It's
Get
up.
your pencil and paper out and write this down. You know,
Mickey can pull it up.
um,
Oh, there it is. We need to reduce the size a little bit.
you know, I love country music. George Strait has a song, Write This Down. Steve Miller got a new country song.
Tom Hill, stop.
So,
Dr.
Dr. Tom Hill, one word, Dr. Tom Hill. And thanks to Brett Klein for all the incredible visuals, the pictures, had a big part in that. I'm really, really proud of it. It's 90, we've got a few tweaks, but overall it really does the job. So please go there. Roger's bio and the videos there, Blair, where's Brett? There, back there, is there. And we're going to take this on. We'll explain more tomorrow. We're going to take this all to the next level. So let's hear it for Brett Klein. Okay, write down this date. March 4th. I'm watching. March 4th, Seaside, Florida. Who's been to Seaside or Destin down there? Look at Holly. We're going to participate. Lawrence, come up here a minute. Give Lawrence the there you go. It's going to be a half marathon now. This is going to be my 25th half marathon. And the reason I'm so excited about this, because the last one I ran in Kiowa Island, I came in first in my age group. I was the only one. From 88 to 100, I was the only one. So I got first place, last place. Finished standing up and did it. I think, Brett, you're going to run it, aren't you? Brett, Marie going to run it. They love Seaside. So, first of all, who's the Howard Group? Explain to them who's the Howard Group is and what your position is.
So I'm the corporate controller for a company called Howard Company of the Southeast Inc. Yeah.
There you go.
Is that better? So I'm the corporate controller for a company called Howard Company of the Southeast Inc. And we're effectively an umbrella company. And then we have, I think we're up to about 109 subsidiaries and joint ventures that then own individual properties.
Okay, and what do they do? What's our group do?
Well, we're a vertically integrated developer is the way I would describe it. So we do everything from purchase the land, do all the entitlement changes and legal associated with that, and then we'll design, build, lease up, own, and operate all those things for all this property.
So what's this half marathon called in Seaside?
It's just called the Seaside School Half Marathon. It's a fundraiser for the local elementary school.
And who's one of the sponsors?
Howard Group.
So I was introduced to Lawrence through Rob Ratcliffe, because you both grew up in Alexandria, Louisiana, best friends, and then you ended up, he's got an interesting life. He spent 18 months just driving around the country by himself with a tent. That's another cool story. Your book will have all that in there, of course.
Of course.
And then Rob Ratcliffe said, you got to get Lawrence into this Hills Angels thing, so that he became a Hills Angel. And it just, one door opened after another, and we're going to touch a lot of lives, aren't we?
Absolutely.
Let's hear it for Lawrence. So March the 4th, we're going to have a dinner the night before. We're going to have 2 charities that we're going to encourage you to, if nothing else, even if you don't want to run. I asked your friend Rob, I said, are you going to run that half marathon? He said, Tom, I don't hate my body. It's so much easier than a full marathon. We're going to do Best Buddies. If you want to know anything about Best Buddies, see Don Kraus there. And then Opportunity International. So we're going to ask people to come down, either run, walk, or just be there, participate. Have dinner the night of the 3rd in Seaside, Florida. And then the race is Sunday morning the 4th. And ask somebody to sponsor it. How far is a half marathon? 13.1 miles. So having sponsored so much a mile, $1 a mile, $10 a mile, whatever it is. Sean?
We just bring a motorcycle.
Bring a motorcycle, yeah, to wait at the finish line. But it's a great opportunity to network with some folks and to raise some money for some good causes and all that. Okay, where is Al Curtis? Come here. Welcome, Al Curtis, right from Michigan. He's the pool guy. There's your phone over there. By the way, tonight, 6:30, Terry, in here, open bar, cash bar, and then 7 o'clock, 7 o'clock dinner. We have 2 programs tonight, so you don't want to miss those. They're both, aren't they exciting, Brett? Not going to have exciting. Oh, by the way, I wanted to mention, Lauren Cook spoke between being ill at the Naples Summit, right? And what'd you give out?
$100.
7 $100 bills. And what'd you say to do with them?
Give them back to someone else.
Tom Helen.
Tom Helen.
So yesterday morning, Steve Denny, Terry Lammers, and then Steve Miller got there late for breakfast, right? Remember Steve? And so we had to leave. Steve was going to stay there. And so we had a real interesting waitress. The address of the restaurant was November 6th and Court Street. A street named November 6th. So Dean asked the waitress, what about November? Come here, real quick, tell them what she said.
We asked the waitress what was the significance of November 6th, and she said, oh, it's a boring story, you don't want to know anything about it. But it was the day they got water or electricity. The day they brought electricity into the area. So they commemorated the street.
Yeah. So, anyhow, she was a good waitress and took real good care of us. And I paid for the meal and gave a nice tip. And then Steve Miller came in this morning and said, Tom killed her last night. He gave her a $100 bill as a tip. Isn't that great? Let's hear it. For somebody like her, a $100 bill is major. That is a significant contribution. So, I've got a note here. We have Al and Sandy and Katie video ready. Anything you know about that?
Not much.
You want to welcome us into it?
Sure. So what happened was, over the last several years, we've had 3 separate production companies approach us to do a TV show about our swimming pool company.
The pool guy.
The pool guy. And it didn't feel right. When the first company called, it's like, wow, once in a lifetime opportunity. Wow, this is really special. But then when the second company calls, you go, well, maybe we have more control over that. And what that forced us to do is Sandy and I sat down and said, if we did a TV show and exposed ourselves in that way, what would we want it to look like? Because we know reality television is not reality. We know that it's all staged and it's fake and it's whatever. So that got us thinking, what would it look like if we were to do a television show? And it came down to this spring, the right customer, and us agreeing that it was the next most important thing for us to do was to shoot a documentary / reality show of one of our projects. So instead of getting an outside company, we hired someone in ourselves and produced this TV show. Currently, it's probably the most documented pool project ever. If you think about everyone being mic'd, 4 or 5 cameras on, 24 hours a day, and everything we did, every part of this is documented, and it kind of shows the culture of who we are and what we do and why we do it. So what we did was we made a 3-minute video to kind of tease you guys about what it is, if you care to show it.
Okay, watch it.
I'd say I think it's
It's rated 10,
yeah,
okay.
it's pretty good.
All right, just stay up here.
We were approached about doing a television show. It just didn't feel right. Our relationship with the customer is way more important than the pool itself or the project itself. We decided that it would be really important for us to produce our own. And we decided to hire our own crew to shoot mini episodes and show the entire process. Many years ago, I came to a realization that my life was about enjoying the process and memories. And I realized that I could choose each and every day which memories those were. And having gone through that process, I started looking at my industry and saying, it doesn't have to be this way. It doesn't have to be anxious-filled process or experience. We want to change the way that construction is done. We want to show the lighter and fun parts. That there are companies out there that can really have the right intentions for the customer and the right intentions for themselves, and that we can have fun together, and it's not just business for business sake, it's business for the love of doing the thing that I do.
Oh my God! What's happening?
By watching, you have a history of how a pool goes together, not just how a pool looks like when it's done. Did you really think we were just going to leave you hanging like that? No. Here's some more.
But in the skate, gotta make it look good. Do you feel good? Feel awesome and amazing? Looking at your pool now, I don't hear you complaining. Yes, we save the day, but other pools we need saving. I'll leave it to Mark, do all of the explaining. When it's all said and done, we'll leave a mark up on the planet. Not literally, he needs to be there when I panic. Put in our time, all of us together, we make the pool shine. No matter the weather, progressive we climb. We grow in a unit, expanding our minds, creating a vision, one pool at a time.
So as you guys know, Katie started a video production company last year at the end of the year, and she is in fact the producer of this. She shot the video. It's incredible. There's 10 terabytes of content currently that's being put together to create this. I don't know if you know what a terabyte is, but it's incredible.
Stand up.
We don't know why we did it. We really don't. It was, you know how your heart just tugs at the next thing you're supposed to do? That's why we did it. We had no idea the outcome, but it's fundamentally changed every one of us that's been involved because it's created this bubble around our world. We live in this really yummy place. We talk about it with our people all the time that live in the yummy. We have a choice to live in the good or the bad. Let's live in the yummy, the best part of all of it. And we do that every single day. We get to play in the field every single day. It is not scalable. I will tell you that much. Doing it this way is not scalable. But we're enjoying it, we're loving it, and we're changing all the people's lives around us. Some of those were the homeowners as well. They work with us, they play with us. We just have a good time all the way around. And we thought it was important that business doesn't have to run like a typical construction site. It can be different. And we've created a very different environment. And again, thanks to Sandy for that, because she's really the one that allows me to go out and play and do what I do every day. And of course, Katie with the documenting was amazing.
I'm going to say, who's this person, Katie? Is there somebody here by that name?
The one behind the camera.
Let's hear it for Katie!
If you haven't met her, you need to meet that girl. She's one of those incredible millennials. They're rare these days, it seems. So.
All right, God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, see you at 6:30 tonight, right here in this room. Be ready. Go Tom Hill, somebody.
If you have to go to the bathroom, here's a thought. Why not do that in the bathroom? Don't you worry, you'll be back soon.
swim is to have fun